couple items that are continued or not going forward. I just want to bring that to the attention of anyone who's listening. The first, number 12 on the continued docket is continued further to October. Then on our regular docket, we have number 9, 1-59 Post Road, that is withdrawn. Number 10 and then number 11 are continued until October as well. Okay? So,
And also, number 3, Mr. Chairman.
yeah, number 3, I'm going to address that at the call. But
You will, okay, all right, great, sorry.
That's, it's going to be, it's not for an accessory structure. We're only going to be entertaining the primary building and an addition to that building. So for a second floor. I'll make the call, and as we call that number 3, which is 2072 Hillside Road, I'll make sure that it's clear. I'm not even going to put on some of the requests for certain sections. I'm only going to make the call for the second floor addition and the necessary request for a variance as it relates to that only. So if anyone is on and is looking to address 2072 Hillside Road, there's going to be no variance request for reduce of the side setback for an accessory structure. We're only dealing with the issues as to the second floor addition on that particular piece of property. So now I'll go forward with our executive session. We have 2 items on the agenda for the executive session. The first is approval of the minutes from our last hearing in August of this year. Entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
Thank you, Brian. Is there a second?
Jane seconds.
Thank you, Jane. Is there any discussion on the minutes? Okay, hearing none, all in favor say aye or raise your hand so I can see.
Aye.
Your hands up.
Aye.
Me as well. Since we all said aye, there can't be anyone against it or abstaining. That motion carries. The second is approval of secretary's fees. Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Thank you, Brian. Second.
Track here. Yeah. You don't know what the track is.
Okay. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye or raise your hand so I can see it.
Aye.
Hands up. I do as well. Motion carries. Since we all voted in favor, no one can oppose or abstain. We'll be reconvening our working executive session after completion of the public hearing. At that time, we'll be voting on each matter that goes forward today. An important announcement before I start the public hearing. Please, when you are on here, unless you are speaking or unless you're answering questions from this board, I want you to be on mute. I will take my time and make sure that I give everyone an opportunity to unmute yourself so you can speak. I make sure that I give enough time so we can make sure everyone who wants to speak is heard. But it's very important that we do this, especially on these types of meetings. It's, when there's a lot of background interference, it's hard for the board members to understand and hear everything that's said. And I think anyone who's on this, you have an interest in something that's going forward today. I'm sure you want us as board members to hear what is being said about that particular application, whether you're for it or against it. So please do your best. Make sure you mute. I will give directions as to when you should unmute yourself. Obviously, if I tell you to begin and you're the applicant, make sure you're not muted. If you start talking, I'll do my best to make sure we tell you, as will Mr. Decker, to say, hey, you need to unmute. All right. So now I'm going to call to order our public hearing. Zoning Board of Appeals, Fairfield, Connecticut, will now come to order September 2, 2021. This meeting is being conducted remote means in light of COVID-19. So please bear with us, be patient as we proceed through the meeting. When a matter is called at that time, I'm going to make the official call, which is identifying the application, identifying what is being sought. After I do that, I will invite the applicant or agent to begin your presentation. We have received, or could we review it online, your submittals, so we have everything. If you want to share something on screen, just make sure you let us know that you're going to be sharing on screen, and that is not a problem either. But we have been able to review your applications and visit the site or look at the site on Google Maps or whatever form. So make sure we are familiar with your particular application. After the applicant's presentation, I will then invite anyone who wants to speak either in favor or against that application to let me know. At that time, if you have an interest in that application, that's a time for you to unmute yourself and make sure you let me know as a chairman that you have an interest. And to do that, you say, I'm so-and-so and I want to speak, and you could say in favor or against that application. What I do is I first take the people that are in favor of it, and then I allow anyone who's opposing an application to speak. After, if there is any opposition, I will then allow the applicant or his or her agent to address the comments that were against that application. If that happens, it's only a time to address the opposition comments. It's not a time to restate your application or make other points in favor of your application. It's your time to address the opposition. Now, I've already talked a little bit about the importance of making sure you're muted, like call-in user number 3 when you join. Make sure you're muted because if you don't mute yourself, it interferes with our ability to understand the tape. This meeting is being recorded, and that's required by our law. It's required because we need to make a record of it. In case someone wants to address a particular application in the future, the record needs to be clean and clear. So only one person can speak at a time. Anyone who does speak must state their name and address. And if I remind you to state your name, I'm not being rude. I just want to make sure the record is clear on who is talking. And it is helpful if you begin talking that you always introduce yourself at the beginning of talking if you haven't spoken in a little bit. It's a little different from being in person. We know who the applicant was from the first time they spoke, but when they come back on for rebuttal, it'd be better if you say, so-and-so, here are my rebuttal comments. Just make it clear. If you are too far off the point, I reserve my right as chairman to restrict your comments at any time. This is Zoning Board of Appeals. It's a request by property owners or people interested in a property for a variance of our zoning regulations. So any comments should be addressed to the variance and the zoning regulations alone. After the public hearing is concluded, after we go through all of them, and anything that goes forward, we will take a short break if it's necessary. If it doesn't take too long, we might go right in and return to our working executive session. At that time, we'll be voting on every application that goes forward today. There are 5 voting members of the Zoning Board of Appeals. In order for your application to be granted or your variance be allowed or granted, you need at least 4 of us to vote in favor. If it's a simple majority, being 3-2, your motion and your request is going to be denied. You need a supermajority of 4-1 at least for your application to be granted. If you cannot stay for after the completion of the hearing or after you're done speaking, and that's not a problem, we will not hold that against anyone. But if you want to find out, please call the zoning office tomorrow or later to find out. I think it's a good idea always for any applicant or someone who's interested to stay, because unlike a lot of places, in a lot of board hearings, we remain open to allow the public to hear our comments and our concerns about a particular application. And I think that's very beneficial to the applicant or anyone who's interested in a particular matter. If an application for a waiver is granted, it will not be valid until it's recorded on our land records. Therefore, you must bring or send a check in the amount of $60 made out to the town of Fairfield and bring it or send it to zoning office Wednesday or later following the meeting for proper recording of the matter. Any waiver involving construction, whether it's a new dwelling, an addition, or an alteration, will require an as-built before any certificate of zoning compliance or a certificate of occupancy can be issued. I'll now begin the call. Again, reminder, number 12 on the continued docket, 645 Fairfield Beach Road, has been continued to October. Number 9 on our regular docket, which is 1-59 Post Road has been withdrawn. Number 10 on our regular docket, which is 3280 and 3300 Post Road, has been continued to October. Number 11 on our regular docket, 599 Kings Highway, has been continued to October. And as to number 3, it is going to be going forward. And number 3 on a regular docket, that's 2072 Hillside Road. But we're only going to be addressing and entertaining a request for a variance as it relates to the second floor addition. There is going to be no request for a variance relative to setback for the accessory structure. So only part of that application is going forward for a hearing at this time. Now I'm going to call the docket. The first matter that we have is number 9 on our continued docket. That is 740 11 o'clock road, map 156, partial 16B as in boy. Petition of Rachel D. and Alex S. Caden for a variance of the zoning regulations, section 5.2.4.3, to reduce the rear and side setbacks of an accessory structure from 50 feet and 30 feet, proposing 31 feet to the garage and 30.2 feet to the in-ground pool and 21 feet. Permission to construct a 2-story detached garage and an in-ground pool premises, AAA zone. And Attorney Russo, is this you?
Yes, Chairman. Attorney Russo with Chris Russo with Russo and Rizzio LLC, offices at 10 Sasko Hill Road in Fairfield. Here on behalf of the owner, Alex and Rachel Caden, for their property at 740 11 o'clock road. This property is located in the AAA zone. It's of course a single family dwelling. And I'm just going to share our site plan before I start presentation. Okay, I think that should be up on the screen now. So yes, we're here before you for a proposed detached garage and a swimming pool that you can see. Here's the property to be placed in this corner of the property. The thing you probably first notice with this site, even though it's a compliant lot for the AAA zone, over 2 acres actually, it is completely dominated, almost completely dominated by an existing pond. It takes over well over half of the site, and in addition to the pond itself, which you see right here in the top half, there's also the buffer area to the pond, as it's part of the Sasko watershed. And so there's if I zoom in here, you can see that there is a 95-foot setback from this pond that also takes over a good portion of this, which really kind of the building envelope over on this side of the property. It cuts into that. It even goes over a part of the existing house. So even though this is a over 2 acre property, the site's actually pretty limited into where you can build this garage and locate this swimming pool. It's certainly abnormal for this zone and unique for this zone. When my client was looking to construct this garage and the swimming pool, and looking at where to possibly locate it, he had a soil testing done. Bill Kenny went out to the site to investigate the soils in this area, and based on his testing, this location was determined to be the best location to construct this garage. My client then went and met with their neighbors to the rear and to the south, directly to the south, as they would be the most impacted by these structures, and discussed the location with them. And both of those neighbors have signed a petition that's in your record in support of this application. The house to the south, their driveway abuts where our property line is, and so their house is actually located a little further south. It's not right along our property line here. And then along the rear property line, I'll show you some pictures in a little bit. There's a very mature buffer, evergreen buffer, along the entire extent of this property line to the rear that will buffer this the pool and the garage from the property at 2457 Burr Street. So our client felt that this location, in the limited building area that they have on the site was the best location, in that it would be screened. The neighbors that were most affected supported the application, and it would protect the integrity of this pond and this buffer area. The pond is beautiful. It's while it's on my client's property, it's really a neighborhood feature. If you were able to go down, I'm sure you saw it when you drove by, and just really a picturesque scene. And so by locating this garage on this side of the property, kind of preserves that the natural look that's on that side of the property. The design of the garage is the architect Peter Grasso, who's on the line here. He drove down the street in the neighborhood, and as you see throughout Greenfield Hill and in this section of 11 O'Clock Road, there's a lot of these two-story barn structures that you see, and that is what he tried to mimic here. Actually, the specific design with the siding is the same as another detached garage to a property to the north. They look very similar. It's another two-story, has the same type of siding material. They decided to connect the pool to what you see here on this left side of the elevation, which is a cabana. That's to be connected with the pool area for anybody who's out there enjoying the pool. This section of the proposed garage is actually conforming to the regulations. It's less, the height is less than 15 feet, but rather than separate out the cabana from the garage and have multiple structures kind of littered through the yard, the applicant thought, and with the architect thought, by combining these, it would reduce this, having it spread across the yard and kind of have it in a more compact area. And that's why these two are proposed to be attached. So this portion of the building is actually compliant with the regulations as a detached accessory structure, which, if it's under 15 feet, can come within 10 feet of any property line. It's really the main part of the garage, because it is greater than 15 feet. And again, that is just the character of the neighborhood. There's a number of these two-story detached garage, and I think I've been before this board about every month with a request for property owners that are looking for a detached area to have some sort of office space during COVID. I did one recently on Old Post Road before you that was approved. Also did another one on Fairfield Beach Road. And this is the same. Clients now work remotely and are seeking on the first floor to have a garage and storage area, but on the upper floor, looking to have an area where it's a detached office that they can go, away from the main house and be able to do their work, as that's now the reality during COVID. So you can see the floor plan. This is the floor plan actually for the second floor, with this loft and office area, and a half bath. Not a full bath, a half bath, as we've done in prior applications for these detached offices. The first floor is has a garage, and then which is connected to this cabana or pool area, whatever you want to call it, and the pool comes right off of that. Just going back to the site plan and the zoning data table on this. So again, the lot is over 2 acres, but not an actual usable area. The portion of the site where something could be built is actually less than the lot shape that's required in the zone. It's 200 feet in AAA zone, and this square is not quite 200 feet along this side and along the back. So just speaking into how small for a AAA zone this buildable area is, with our proposal, there's 10% building coverage allowed in the AAA zone. With this detached garage, we're only going to be at 4.2%, which is less than half of what is permitted in the zone. And for FAR in this zone is 15%. We're proposing 6%. So almost a third. And again, we're proposing for the garage to be 21 feet off of the side property line from the neighbor who supports this application. It would be 31 feet from the rear property line, again, with the neighbor who supports this application where there's a mature buffer, and it's 30.2 feet to the in-ground pool, which requires a variance due to the nature that it's over 100 square feet in size, the pool is. But it's for a pool, it's pretty modest, 18 by 36. Okay, if I could show you, I'm gonna just pull up some photos here. Start. Sorry, I'm gonna go from the beginning here. So this is the proposed location for, right? Are those photos showing on the screen? Yes. Okay, great. So here's the main house. This is the proposed area where you see the trampoline for the garage, and you can see all along that rear property line that there's this very tall, mature evergreen buffer that will screen the neighbor to the rear. There's the main house. It's another look at the backyard. And this is, so the bridge, you'll see the bridge noted on the site plan. This is the bridge to the side. And here's the pond. You can see very large pond. Pretty picturesque scene there for that really the whole neighborhood can enjoy. It's just a zoomed in version of the of that backyard where the trampoline is. It's about approximate location of where the garage would go. This is the neighbor to the south, their property, and you can see on the left side, you can see the fence. That's our property line, and there's a number of trees in this area that also help with screening, and then their driveway, and you can see their house there, right? So they're still a pretty considerable distance from where we're proposing these structures. This is a view from the end of the cul-de-sac. And by locating this garage in the corner, we'll take advantage of these trees that are there to help screen from that end of the cul-de-sac as well. You can see it there. You won't be able to see it because the trees are there. This is across the street, which is completely vegetated. It's an unbuildable area where there's some wetlands. This is the garage that's on the property that's to the north of us. And you can see the style is similar to what Mr. Grasso designed for the garage. The same siding, 2 stories. And here's another, this is connected by a covered walkway, but it's another, detached building, 2-story, has that barn look, which you see throughout Greenfield Hill. We submitted petition signed by a number of neighbors. If I can show the GIS right here. So the petition was signed by neighbors at 660, where that other detached garage is, right here to the north. 686, which is on the other side of the pond behind us, and 2457 Burr Street, which you see right here, which is directly behind where the garage would go, and then also our neighbor at 796 11 O'Clock Road, which is directly to the south. For hardship, obviously on this particular application, the presence of the pond dominating over half the site, as well as the buffer in addition to that significantly reduced the buildable area on this site. And we've located the structure as best we could to hide from the neighbors and kind of preserve the integrity of how natural it looks in this area. It's completely conforming to the neighborhood. I showed you examples of the of other two-story detached structures and mirroring the garage that is directly on the property to the north. And we believe that this is a it fits in very well with the neighborhood, and this site is facing a number of unique physical conditions that necessitate the need for these variances. And happy to answer any questions with regards to the application. Our architect is on the call and can answer any questions regarding the design as well.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Russo. Does the board have any questions for Attorney Russo? Yes, Jane, go ahead, please.
Okay, I'm off mute. I just have a question about the driveway. You have to get permission for a second curb cut, correct?
Yes.
And does the curb cut have to be exactly there? I'm just trying to figure out how close your proposed curb cut is to the neighbor's driveway to the south. I mean, I could see it in a photo, but it's hard. I mean, it's not shown on the site plan.
I'm not sure exactly. I would say it's actually probably 20 feet because it here, let me share again. So it's basically running straight along with this side of the garage. The garage is 21 feet. So I would say it's probably a little bit less than 20 feet. Jason Spath, who did this plan, said that its location was compliant, but that would certainly have to be approved by town departments.
Okay, but
Figure out how.
our zoning variance doesn't really apply to the exact configuration of the driveway.
Correct.
That's true, right? Okay, I'm just
Yeah.
curious.
The only variance is with regard to the side setback here to the garage, and then the rear setback to the garage and the swimming pool.
Okay, all right. Thank you. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Told the Jasmine.
Any other questions from the board for Attorney Russo? Hearing none. Attorney Russo, could you remove your screen share? Thank you.
Yes.
At this time, I'd like to ask if there's anyone that has a comment either in favor or against this application, 740 11 O'Clock Road. Please let me know that you have a comment and give me your name.
My name is Andrea Karen. I live at 801 11 O'Clock Road, and I'd like to speak against the application.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Karen. Anyone else have comments, either in favor or against? Okay. I ask always first for those in favor to speak. We haven't had anyone raise their hand or let me know. So now, Ms. Karen, you have an opposition comment. You're able to go forward now with your opposition. Please give us your name and address again, just for the record, and then you can make your comments.
My name is Andrea Karen. I live at 801 11 O'Clock Road. I'm the property owner.
All right, go ahead, ma'am.
I object to the applicant's request for variance. This is because the applicants have sufficient upland area to construct their additions without a zoning variance. Granting an unnecessary variance will encourage other property owners to deviate from zoning regulations. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Karen. Just to make sure, is there anyone else that has a comment either in favor or against this application? Okay, hearing nothing further, Attorney Russo, this is your opportunity to address Ms. Karen's comments.
Yes, thank you, Chair. And I was also in receipt of Ms. Karen's written comments that she had submitted to the board. I mean, one thing is the pond is extremely unique. I really haven't seen a physical feature like this dominate a property like this pond does. So the basis for the variance is this unique circumstance of the pond and the buffer. Again, you could see this line for the buffer that cuts through the house. And so if we were to shift this pool over, to the north, we would start crossing over into that buffer area. And Bill Kenny, based on his soils testing, didn't feel that this location was much more preferable compared to that one, that the soils there were not good for construction over there. And so you could see, and in our design, what we were aiming to do was to make this as compact as possible. So you will see a lot more greenery rather than breaking this all up and having the main dwelling, having a separate swimming pool and a cabana, and then a separated garage from that. We met with these neighbors that we feel are the most impacted, and I will go back to the GIS, both to the rear and to the side, who support this application and were comfortable with the location of this. Ms. Karen's here at 801 11 o'clock road. And frankly, the location that we picked was to also benefit her, in that if we move this forward, she would be more likely to see this structure. So by locating it, tucking it back into this corner, with the trees that are there, the trees would help obscure the view, and then she wouldn't see it as much. And then certainly all these neighbors on the other side of the pond would be very difficult to see it. And I saw, actually, she had made a comment in her written, and I just want to address them, even though she didn't mention it here, about trees that were taken down. And I just wanted to let the board know that these were dead trees, particularly around the pond. They were white ash trees that had been affected by a disease. Our client had an arborist come out. That arborist met with the former conservation director for the town at the site, looked at these trees, found that they were diseased, and then took them down. But our client has tried to preserve as many trees on their property as they could, and have located in this area that is now cleared. But that's just because there was a disease that affected those trees. But we think this location is the least intrusive on any of the surrounding neighbors, and really, it's such a limited area that we could build this. And for those reasons, we believe with the pond we have a hardship, and that what we are proposing is conforming with the neighborhood, and would respectfully request your approval of this application.
Thank you, Attorney Russo. That concludes our hearing on 740 11 o'clock road. Taking this up once we reconvene our working session. Next item that we have on our general docket, number 1, 203 South Benson Road, map 139, parcel 331. Petition of David and Nicole Gales for a variance of zoning regulations, section 5.2.4, for a variance of the zoning regulations to reduce the side and sum of 2 sideline setbacks from 7 feet and 25 feet, currently 3.8 feet and 24.4 feet, proposing 3.6 feet and 7.4 feet, and section 5.2.5 to increase the total floor area from 40%, currently 45.1%, proposing 51.2%, permission to demo detached garage and attach to dwelling and add a second floor above garage, premises A zone, And I think, is it the contractor, Mr. Raymond, that is going to present this?
David and
So
Nicole.
this is Jason from Raymond Design Builders. I think the homeowner is here as well, and the homeowner is going to present. I'm here if there's any questions or concerns.
All right, who's presenting from the Gallias?
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nicole Gallias, and this is my husband, David. We have 3 children at school, and we thank you.
Gallias, could you speak up a little louder or turn up your microphone somehow,
Sure.
because you're very faint.
Is that better?
Very, very much better.
Okay, good. Good afternoon. I'm Nicole Gallias. This is David Gallias. We thank you for your time. We consider ourselves very blessed to be able to call 203 South Benson our home for these past 10 years. We really love the community, our schools, and neighborhood. We rebuilt our home after a house fire in 2016 and kept the original foundation as we tried our best to make it look appealing and within keeping of the neighborhood. We did not rebuild the original garage as we did not have any fire damage, but we are here to ask you today if we could please rebuild it and make it more of a part of our home by attaching it to the house and adding a small room and bathroom above it. This will create more space for our family in the current work from home environment. Thank you. I'll hand over to David Gallias now, who'll just explain how we will make it a much nicer structure, less imposing on the neighbors and more conforming.
Thank you. As with many homes in the beach area, our hardship is a non-conforming lot. The minimum lot size for our zone is 9,375 square feet, with our lot only being 5,250 square feet. This means that whatever work we do will always require a variance, but understanding that, we have tried to keep the impact to a minimum and where possible, even make our property more conforming. The current garage is right on the side and rear property lines, and in both these respects, we are increasing that distance by going from a 2-car detached garage to a single-car attached garage. Specifically, the proposed side setback is only changing by 0.2 feet if we exclude the existing garage. If you consider that the existing garage is listed as an accessory structure, the overall side setback is actually improving by 1.2 feet from 2.4 to 3.6. The rear setback will now be conforming for both the main and accessory structures where previously we were not. Our building lot coverage is decreasing and becoming more conforming as a result of this project, going from 28.4% to 27.8%, which given the lot size is a modest sized dwelling. We thank you for your time and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have at this time.
Thank you. Does the board have any questions for the Gallias? Questions? Is there anyone that wishes to speak either in favor or against this application? It's 203 South Benson Road. Please let me know and give me your name. Okay. Hearing no comments, further comments, and no questions. The hearing for 203 South Benson Road is now closed. Thank you very much. David and Nicole will be taking this up after the public hearing. Our next item is number 2, right next door, 193 South Benson Road, map 139, parcel 332. Petition of Eric and Diana West for a variance of zoning regulations, section 5.2.4.3, to reduce the rear setback for an accessory structure from 4 feet, currently 2 feet, proposing 2 feet, and section 5.2.5 to increase the lot coverage from 20%, currently 22.44%, proposing 22.44%, permission to remove existing structure and rebuild on existing foundation. And are the owners presenting that as well, or is Mr. Raymond, are you going to be presenting that?
I will be.
This is Jason from Raymond Design Builders. Yes, the owners are fine with that.
All right, go ahead, Mr. West.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Eric West. My wife, Diana West, and I bought 193 South Benson in December. We could not be more excited to be building our life together, recently married, in fact, in this new home, and in the process, getting more excited about the future as we look forward to enjoying the home as is. In a weird request, not unlike our friends next door in 203, we're looking for to prioritize ultimately using the house as is, and so looking for ultimately a request of conformance as is. As the records would show, our house is built in 1917, likely before many of these current zoning constraints existed. And now they've settled in for a few months. We've found, I think, the need to improve the way that this existing space is used. None of the improvement plans include growing or changing the footprint, to be very clear. And really, my wife's dream of an ensuite bathroom and large closet is so close she can taste it. I'm only half joking when I say that. We remain lucky that our jobs are now both fully remote, being called, I guess, knowledge workers, I guess we're called now. And so as we aspire to make a deliberate plan to integrate our work and personal lives across our property, we tend to separate that work from life in small yet humble dwelling space in place of our current garage. I think this would enable us to greatly extend the useful life of this home, in our lives, and as our family grows and lives continue evolving. Meanwhile, we struggle to make that hard renovation plans against a non-conforming house and property. So again, this request is simply to make our house conforming as is. Thank you, and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, sir. Does the board have any questions for Mr. West? Yes, Jane, go ahead.
Okay, I see you want to use the existing foundation, which is why you want to put it right back in the same spot.
Correct.
Have you considered just adding the 4 feet or whatever you need to the front of the foundation, so you can pull the whole garage forward, so you can conform to the 4 feet in the back?
Drape with light control.
I think that was something that we worked with the Raymond team to consider.
So wherever we have panels,
Are they on the line?
We'll have this detail.
Yep, we're right here. This is Jason with Raymond Design Builders. So a part of it, what it was, is we wanted to try to keep the kind of the character of the house, and so
Just
add
the note
so
here.
we're not
what
really
rooms this
demoing the
applies to.
entire space. We're kind of trying to
Okay.
use the
So
existing
it's wherever
structure that
we
is
have
there,
a middle.
both the
let's see,
foundation
it's really-
and kind of as much
I
of the
don't think our
walls as
transfer purpose
possible to
is that
kind of
they
allow
don't
for
have to overlap
kind
because
of
it's not
converting
in
this
front of the light.
garage into
It's not
more
in
of
front
a
of the window.
usable
But I
space.
think all the other rooms, it does matter.
I lost a little bit of that. So you,
This is a
are you
separate-
saying
Are you able to hear me
you're
better now?
unable, are you unable to do as I, you know,
So
I'm asking?
what I was trying to say is that we're trying to kind of renovate the existing garage. Is anybody able to hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, yeah, so we're trying to renovate the existing garage and kind of keep the most of the kind of the structure that's there. We're changing kind of the roof and but keeping kind of the overall
when this
kind of
goes up to
look
the
of
side,
the structure and kind
make it a good round number,
Okay,
make this whatever it is, 14.
So you're not
Can you
knocking it
mute
down.
whoever that person is talking in the background?
So you're not tearing it down and rebuilding on the existing foundation, you're using the existing structure?
The hope was not to tear the entire thing down, correct?
Okay, thank you very much. That's it.
Any other questions from the board? Okay, hearing no other questions. Is there anyone that wishes to speak to this particular application, 193 South Benson Road, either in favor or against?
This is David Gallius. We're happy to speak in favor.
Okay, is there anyone else in favor or against? Okay, David, go ahead and just state your name and address, please.
This is David Gallius at 203 South Benson Road. We're the direct neighbors of the Wests, and we've seen lots of young families come and go from this house because it is very small, and we'd love to see this lovely young family stay and make this a more usable space. And what they're doing is, fairly minor, very much in keeping. They're going to make an improvement for sure, and we're very much in favor of what they're doing.
Thank you, David. And just to be sure, is there anyone else that wants to speak in favor or against this application?
Yes.
Did you have a question, Jane?
I'm just confused because on the docket, it says they're gonna remove the existing structure and rebuild it. So it's unclear which is the
Yes,
actual direction they're planning on
Yeah.
doing.
if it is, it might be, they might add a curtain that's permanent, but I don't think so. Now.
I think our
did I
guys
copy
Raymond
it
are
on
on
the email
mute.
that showed the
Okay,
Excuse me,
box
who's
sign
speaking right now?
banners coming out like this? Okay, I'll send that to you, because most of the
Sorry.
usually banner boxes.
Excuse me.
look like-
Who's speaking? I would appreciate it if you didn't while others are presenting. Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Chairman.
All right, so the kind of question or comment from Jane was that the call says remove existing structure. You know, I guess the question would be, are you going to be removing it or simply reconstructing it, or what exactly? Maybe Jason can respond best to that, Mr. West, if he's still on the line.
Still on the line, and yes, I can respond to that. So that might have been an error on our part, but these older garages, the way they were built is the walls went all the way down to the foundation, and so they end up kind of rotting out. So the plan, the plan is to kind of use the existing structure as much as possible to keep, kind of the to kind of keep it as is as much as possible. We're putting a new roof on it, but and then converting it from a garage to a kind of work from home space. I hope that answers the question, Jane.
Basically, keep as much as you can, but remove and replace where necessary.
Correct.
Any other questions, comments on this application? All right, hearing none, we close the application now on the hearing on 193 South Benson Road. Our next item we have, Matt, am I coming in okay?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, you are. There's a little bit of feedback from someone, but I can't figure out who it is.
Yeah. It might be Attorney Fallon. He's still not on.
He's up this time. I think he's helping the next applicant.
Next item that we have is number 32072 Hillside Road. Remember earlier?
Mr. Chairman, that now you're coming in a little faded out.
Number 367.
Same.
I might have to switch to the laptop. Matt, I'm going to try to switch to the laptop.
You're coming through.
Sounds good
perfect.
there.
Now. Go figure, huh?
2072 Hillside Road, map 170, parcel 1, petition of Samuel Shoah and Samantha Kepke for a variance of the zoning regulations. Section 5.2.4 to reduce the sideline and street line setbacks to the primary dwelling from 30 feet and 60 feet, currently 20.8 feet and 24.4 feet, proposing 20.8 feet and 47.9 feet. Permission to construct a second floor addition to a primary dwelling, premises AAA zone. Remember, I announced this earlier. Part of the original publication called for a setback for an accessory structure, but the applicants here are only seeking the variance as related to the call I just made for the a second floor addition. Is that correct, Attorney Fallon?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, it is. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. For the record, my name is John Fallon. I'm an attorney here in Fairfield with offices at 53 Street. I'm representing Shawa and Samantha Kepke. I did send a letter yesterday confirming what the indicated, and that is that we are proceeding today only with that portion of the application that was filed seeking permission to construct a second floor addition to the primary dwelling, as I'll discuss in a minute. We're not pursuing that aspect of the application pertaining to the detached garage today, so as to provide us an opportunity to continue our dialogue with our neighbors with regard to that aspect of the matter. Sam and Samantha have been in consultation with the neighbors. They're going to continue that dialogue, but in the spirit of the neighborhood that exists here and the relationship these neighbors have, while that discussion is ongoing concerning the garage, they are not going to be moving forward with that. They would, however, and are here today, hopefully, to move forward with the second story addition. They filed this application with a narrative some time ago, and I think they did a very clear job with regard to it. They're seeking a second story addition over an existing footprint as shown on the site plan that you have. Sam and Samantha bought the property in 2017. They're a young couple. They are now at the point where they are very, very hopeful and active with regard to establishing a family. And the third bedroom that would be accommodated by this small addition, and it is a small addition, I think it's approximately 300 square feet, but that would be very important to their ability to maintain their home at this place, which they love so much, in this neighborhood that they love so much. The existing house, as they point out in the material, is quite small. It's only 1,797 square feet. And as you can see, I hope you'll agree by the plans we submitted, they have taken great care working with their architect, Linda Batchelder, to make sure that the second story addition is in keeping with the existing home and maintains the character and charm of the beautiful small house on this unique lot. There's not going to be any removal of trees associated with this second story addition, nor of course will there be any expansion of the footprint. We're just building up on the second floor, on a first floor that already exists. And we're not seeking any variances with respect to lot coverage. Obviously, with us now going forward only with the second story addition, that's not an issue, but also floor area ratio. We are going to be, notwithstanding the significant nonconformity of the lot, very much in compliance with both the coverage and FAR requirements of the zone. Briefly, let me address these facts in terms of the standards established by Connecticut General Statutes 8-6A3, which you know very well. The variance has to be shown not to substantially affect the comprehensive zoning plan, and you have to find that there are factors with regard to the property in question that establish legal hardship as recognized by our case law. With regard to the first part of the test, it's been well established, and I cite to you many times the Egan case. That's Egan versus Zoning Board of Appeal of Old Lyme at 20 Con App 561 for the proposition that if the use to be allowed after the variance is granted is permitted use in the zone or consistent with other uses in the neighborhood, then that satisfies the first part of the statutory test. Obviously, the granting of this variance to allow this small but very important second story addition will not change the use of the property, which will remain as a single family home for the Shawas, hopefully a growing family home. Only the setback variance is requested. That really doesn't increase the existing setback because, again, we're building on top of the existing structure. And as I said before, no request for any FAR variances made. I also complimented before Linda Batchelder. I think the design for the addition is very attractive and it's going to harmonize with the character of the neighborhood. I believe a neighborhood petition has been submitted showing that with regard to the matter pertaining to the second story addition, none of the neighbors have any objection. Indeed, I think you received a email to that effect as well from the Duffys yesterday. There's numerous bases for hardship, and again, I think the clients did a very good job when they filed the application, setting forth the numerous factors that establish legal hardship, but let me just review and summarize them quickly. Obviously, this is a pre-existing non-conforming lot with respect to both lot area and shape. As you can see as well from the plan that's submitted, it's very narrow, triangular in shape, uniquely shaped, thus constraining people state. Our case law, Stillman versus the Zoning Board of Appeals, 25 Con App 631, recognizes lot shape as a proper basis for granting variances when they relate to setbacks. The other thing that I'd point out here is that there's a significant amount of wetlands on this property, which obviously has at some point a long time ago constrained the developable area of the property. And again, our case law recognizes that presence of wetlands satisfies a hardship requirement. In that case, is Pike versus the Zoning Board of Appeals at 31 Con App 270. The last thing that is not mentioned in their material, but I would add significant, has been recognized numerous times by this board, is the case law that says the existing location of a pre-existing non-conforming structure creates a proper basis for a finding of hardship. And that's the Kelly versus Zoning Board of Appeals case, Micklin versus the Zoning Board of Appeals, numerous cases. And you've seen that many times before. Indeed, we had an application a few months ago involving my neighbors up here on Burr Street, and it was similar, a second floor addition over an existing first floor. And the only reason they needed a setback variance was because the existing house, which predated zoning, was non-conforming to the setback. That is the case here as well. And again, we're not seeking in any way to encroach further into that side yard setback. So those are the bases for why we think we obviously satisfy the requirement. And in summary, and subject to answering any questions you might have, we do establish, I think, hardship based upon all those factors. We're not in any way seeking to seek variances that would increase the size of the house, livable area beyond what's allowed under the current zone, the FAR. We're going to be within that 15%. We've talked to our neighbors, moving forward with that portion of the application, that no further dialogue is necessary on. I think they appreciate the effort that's been made by the client in working with the architect to come up with a design for this small addition that's going to fit into the character of the existing house and the neighborhood. And at the end of the day, the Showers have been in this location for 4 years. They love the house, they love the property, they love the neighborhood. They just need a little bit more space as they contemplate expanding their family. And this addition will give them that opportunity. So we hope you will favorably consider the application that's before you today. And we'd be pleased to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Attorney Fallon. Does the board have any questions? Is there anyone that wishes to comment on this particular application, 2072 Hillside Road, either in favor or in opposition? Please let me know. Hearing no one.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
All right. Here, no one. The hearing is now closed on 2072 Hillside Road. The next item is number 4, 133 Ridgeview Avenue, map 46, parcel 195, petition of Ryan and Lauren Fisher for a variance of the zoning regulation section 5.2.5 to increase the total lot coverage from 15%, currently 16.7%, proposing 17.3%. Permission to construct a 2-story addition, premises R3 zone. And who is it that's presenting? I see something on my screen.
Lisa White is supposed to be presenting, Mr. Chairman.
I saw Miss White before. I don't hear her. Is she mute? Nope.
She was here.
She's sharing her screen and moving her cursor.
Yeah, but I don't see her on the board.
Ms. White, we can't hear you if you're talking. I want to start again on the,
I don't see her signed in. She has to reboot the WebEx, I think.
she's on the participant list, but
She is? I missed that. There she is. Hold on, let's see. No, she's not muted.
Oh, no.
Nope.
can't hear you, Ms. White.
Need to dial in. Her computer may not have a microphone.
It's all the way to the right. I think that's right.
I see you waving, but we don't hear you.
Dial in on your phone.
Lisa, do you have headphones you can plug into your computer? Okay.
Looks like she's dialing in.
Yep. The access code in. It should be.
Can you hear me now?
You've got a significant
computer.
amount of feedback. You've got to turn the volume down on the computer.
How's that?
That's much better.
Yeah.
Very good.
I
Go ahead.
I apologize for this. All right, can everybody hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I am Lisa White with Breakwater Renovation and Design. I'm here to represent the owners of 133 Ridgefield Ave, Ryan and Lauren Fisher, and I'm also the contractor for the project. We are looking for permission to build a two-story addition over an existing slab. Currently, on the rear of the house, there is a one-story, three-season screened-in porch, and they are looking to construct a four-season room with a second-story addition above it. This property is in the R3 zone, and that is a 20,000 square foot lot, and this particular lot is just over half of that at 11,700 square feet. So we are asking for a variance on lot coverage, and the hardship being that we are, already 50% under what the minimum lot square footage is. And if this lot had been a 20,000 square foot property, we would be at a 10.1% lot coverage. And does anybody have any questions?
Thank you, Ms. White. Any questions for Ms. White on behalf of the Fishers? No questions? Is there anyone that wishes to comment on this application, 133 Ridgeview Avenue, either in favor or against the application? Please let me know now. Having no comments, either in favor or against? We're going to close the hearing on 133 Ridgeview Ave. Thank you, Ms. White. We'll be taking this up
Thank you.
at the end of the hearing. Our next item is number 580 Post Road, map 141, parcel 62. Petition of Pollock Circle Associates LLC for variance of zoning regulations, section 12.7.6.1 to reduce the street line setback from 25 feet, currently 10.4 feet, proposing 15.4 feet, and section 12.7.6.3 to reduce the rear line setback from 10 feet, currently 0.2 feet, proposing 7 feet. Permission to construct a one-story walk-in cooler premises DCD zone. Attorney Fallon, are you presenting this?
I am, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, members of the board. For the record, my name is John Fallon. I'm an attorney in Fairfield with offices at 53 Sherman Street. And over the years, I've spent way too much time in Senior Salsa. And I probably have the waistline to show for it. But obviously, Senior Salsa has been at this location for many, many decades. It's a great Mexican cuisine restaurant, and has been very popular for many years in town. What we are seeking the variance for is, as you can see on the plan that was the plans that were submitted, is to construct a small addition to the existing building that will provide additional space to be utilized primarily as a walk-in freezer. This will address recommendations that were made by the Fairfield Health Department to increase, if possible, freezer space. It's also going to give us an opportunity to kind of reconfigure some of our interior space that's going to allow us to enhance the existing kitchen prep areas. And that's, again, consistent with the recommendations of the health department. Now, if you look at the survey, I won't put it up unless you want me to, but I know you all have a copy of it. This property is extremely unique in its configuration, and it's also bordered by both Kings Highway cutoff to the north and the Post Road to the south. The existing building, which predates, again, zoning as far as we can tell, is located in the extreme westerly corner of the property. And I emphasize all those factors because that's obviously, all those things are the hardship bases, which I'll address in a minute. Under the statute, you need to make two findings: that what is being proposed is not going to substantially affect the comprehensive zoning plan, and that there are factors pertaining to the property that establish a hardship basis for granting the variance based upon case law. I cite the Egan case in my material, which says that if the use to be made, if the variance is granted, is consistent with other uses in the area and or is a permitted use in the zone, the first part of the test is met. Obviously, this variance and this adding of this primarily in walk-in freezer area isn't going to change the use of the property, which will remain as a very popular restaurant. There are really three very, this is not a momentous application, but it's one that has a lot of hardship factors, sort of like a Hornbook case. First of all, as I said before, the lot is very uniquely shaped, and Connecticut case law recognizes that shape of a lot, which inhibits how and where you can build, establishes a proper basis for a finding of hardship. And I cite those cases at page 2 of my material. Secondly, as I mentioned in the application I presented previously, there's a lot of case law that's cited at page 2 with regard to the historic location of a pre-existing non-conforming structure on a lot, creating a proper basis for a finding of hardship. As you can see, with where the current building, which predates zoning, is built, there's no way you can add anything to that building, including a walk-in freezer area recommended by the health department, without triggering the need for the variances that we're seeking. And the third is the fact that this is a corner lot, if you will. It's bounded on two sides, Kings Highway to the north and Post Road to the south. And thus, with regard to the street line setback variance that we ask for, the case of Archambault v. Wadlow is applicable because that says such a corner lot situation does create a proper basis for a street line setback. So in summary, it's a small addition. It's going to provide us the walk-in freezer area space that we'd like anyway, and that the health department would like to see us how. Let us reconfigure our prep area. Most importantly, I think from your considerations, the legal factors as established by Connecticut 8-6A3 are met here. And we hope you will grant the application and visit Senor Sosa. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Attorney Fallon. Board have any questions for Attorney Fallon? Yes, go ahead, Jane.
I just want to be sure that by adding the additional freezer space, you're not increasing the dining area, so you won't need additional parking. It's not affected at all.
Not unless somebody wants to eat in the freezer, but no,
Okay,
seriously,
okay.
the answer is it will not be patron floor area in any shape or form.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Questions for Attorney Fallon? All right, hearing no questions, anyone wishes to speak in favor or against this application, let me know. Okay, hearing none, the application on 580 Post Road is now closed. Well, thank you, Attorney Fallon. We'll be taking that up at the end.
Thank you very much.
Our next item is number 6, 180 Millard Street, map 182, parcel 139. Petition of Natalia and Jeffrey Mulchin for a variance of the zoning regulations, section 2.2.4, to reduce the sum of 2 sideline setbacks from 20 feet, currently 15.5 feet, proposing 15.5 feet. Permission to remove existing roof and rebuild with a steeper pitch. Premises B zone. I believe the owner is going to be presenting. Is that right, sir?
That's correct. Can you hear me? Is my audio okay? Great, thank you. Yes, this is Jeff Mulchin and Natalia Mulchin. We are at 180 Millard Street. As you laid out, our current situation is we have a home that has had 2 additions placed onto it. Essentially 50% of our roof square footage is flat. And what we're looking to do is create a higher pitch and span the entire roof, if you will. The hardships that this roof is creating today, we have very, very little space to add insulation in the roof where it's actually lower. 50% of the attic space is essentially not there. So there's no insulation where the kitchen is and on the back side. So the hardship created by this is that there's virtually no insulation in 50% of that area. And it's really tough on the heating bills. The lack of space also makes it very difficult to access wires and cables. When the cable guys come, they've got to put cables through the side of the walls and then basically affix the cables on the inside walls of our home. We're thinking with proper space in the attic, we can use that to place wires and cables, etc. The last piece, which is more of a future concern of ours, is that because we've got 50% of our roof that is essentially flat, when the heavy snows come, the snow and the ice sits there virtually all winter and doesn't have a chance to melt off the house. And the concern is that that's going to create leaking or even worse, which I hope never happens. Lastly, because we have very, very little access, even in the accessible parts of the attic, service people actually have to go through the ceiling of our existing house, remove parts of the ceiling to get at piping, particularly for the air conditioning unit. So the solution that we have in mind, as I mentioned in the beginning, is to increase the pitch of the roof from where it is today to span from the front to the rear to create a single roof line. And that's it. It's that simple. We have petitioned our neighbors on Millard Street, and everyone is in favor of it, and they're looking forward to a new roof for us. Questions?
Thank you, Ms. Mulchin. Does anyone have any questions? Is there anyone that wishes to speak in favor or against this application? Hearing none. Jane, did you have a question? I thought I saw your hand go up. All right. Since there's no one that wanted to come forward to speak in favor or against, no questions, sir. The hearing now is closed on 180 Millard Street. We'll be taking that up at the end of this public hearing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item we have is number 7, that's 290 Sasko Hill Road, map 231, parcel 399, petition of 290 SHR Equity Partners LLC for a variance of zoning regulations, section 5.2.5, to increase the lot coverage and the total floor area from 10% and 15%, currently 7.9% and 13.2%, proposing 10.7% and 15.7%. Permission to construct a 2-story addition and deck, premises AAA zone. Attorney Fitzpatrick, you presenting this?
I am, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Mr. Chairman, I don't know how to fix my video, so I'm just going to work with the audio lest I lose both, if you don't mind. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, for the record, my name is Bill Fitzpatrick. I'm an attorney in Fairfield with the law firm of Fitzpatrick, Frey, and Bologna, with offices at 1735 Post Road. I'm here this afternoon representing 290 SHR Equity Partners LLC. Kambiz Shabazi is a member of this LLC, and the Shabazi family will occupy 290 Sasko Hill Road as their residence. 290 Sasko Hill Road is located in the residence AAA zone. It contains 1.73 acres. As you know, the minimum lot area requirement in the residence AAA zone is 2 acres, so the existing lot is legally pre-existing non-conforming. The board may recall that I appeared before you relative to this property in June of this year, requested a variance relative to the renovation of the existing garage. That was essentially a technical variance since the garage renovation actually put the garage further from the street. The new purchaser of the property, the applicant here, had at that point not completed the plans for the renovation of the house itself. Now the full renovation plans are complete, and that is the reason the applicant is before you. The intent of the applicant is to construct various improvements to the home, including the construction of a 2-story addition at the southerly end of the home, a pool, decking, and various landscape improvements. To that end, the applicant is requesting a variance of section 5.2.5 of the zoning regulations to permit an increase in lot coverage from the permitted 10% to 10.7%, and an increase in floor area ratio from the permitted 15% to 15.7% in conjunction with the construction of the proposed addition, deck, and landscape improvements. At this point, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to introduce Mr. Peter Paulos, an architect with PH Architects with offices at 38 Taunton Hill Road in Newtown, to describe the proposal. Peter.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Do you hear me? Okay. My name is Peter Paulus. I'm the principal of PH Architects located at 38 Taunton Hill Road, Newtown, Connecticut. And as Bill mentioned, our client, we came before the board in June, and we had designed some alterations to his garage, basically pulling it back from the street, mainly to simplify the architecture of it. And then after analyzing their home, they decided they wanted to do some things to it. One was increase and enhance the views, not only to the water, but also the grass area that he is part owner of, that is on the shoreline. He also wanted to do these views more towards the north of the home so he could look down the waterway. That's in areas like the family room, breakfast room, and master bedroom. He also wanted to create an office and art gallery, and another bedroom. So the home office, he works from home at the time now, and he is in desperate need of an office. The art gallery, he has a large collection of personal art, and he would like to enjoy it instead of store it in closet space. He also, the bedroom, he has a larger family, and this was very important to him. He wants the ability to have his whole family stay and come and go. And once again, that was very important to him. So coming up with design schemes for our client was intrigued with creating his office space that would feel like it was outside, almost like having a little piece of oasis for him. So we landed on the idea of doing this addition to the south, which falls within all the setbacks of the property, is under the height restriction, and feels a bit more private because most of the common areas of the home are towards the north. Plus, it was really it's secluded in the vegetation of it all, the feel for it. Our client also liked the traditional aspect or the architecture of the home, but with enhancing the views and connecting with the exterior, he was intrigued with creating a freshness that could be a counterpart to the home. And basically, so this led us and our client to pursue large glass openings that would be steel glass within the existing facade. And we basically balance this facade by creating little artistic touches of this aspect. Now, the largest expression of this is obviously the addition to the south that would hold the office and the other program that our client wants. But this addition is primarily painted exposed steel structure and steel windows and glass. We're anticipating that the structure and the frames are painted dark so they can kind of melt away in the backdrop of things, and also within the shadows of the trees that this addition is somewhat under. Our client, lastly, our client, as well as I and our firm, we're excited about this project, and we feel we have created something here that does bring a freshness to the architecture, and that complements and kind of balances the home. And that's basically what we've done. Thank you. And if anyone has any questions, they can ask them. If not, we can return to Mr. Fitzpatrick.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, for the record, the test for the granting of the variance is set forth in the Archambault case, 25 Connecticut Appellate 375, a 1991 case, which states regarding hardship under General Statute Section 8-6, parents 3 and parents, a local zoning board may grant a variance where two basic conditions are met. One, the variance is shown not to affect substantially the comprehensive zoning plan, and two, adherence to the strict letter of the zoning regulations is shown to cause unusual hardship unnecessary to the carrying out of the general purpose of the zoning plan. End quote. First part of the test, no substantial effect on the comprehensive zoning plan is satisfied here where the proposed use, the renovation of an existing single-family home, is certainly a permitted use in the residence AAA zone. The second part of the test, adherence to the strict letter of the zoning regulations, is shown to cause unusual hardship unnecessary to the carrying out of the purpose of the zoning plan, is satisfied here, I would say, by several factors. First factor for the board to take into account is the fact that the property in question is a legally pre-existing non-conforming building lot. The property is located in the residence AAA zone, which has a minimum requirement of 2 acres, but the property here only contains 1.73 acres. The lot coverage permitted in the residence AAA zone with a minimum lot size of 2 acres, which is 87,120 square feet, is 10%, or 8,712 square feet. The lot coverage proposed as part of this application is 8,047 square feet, well within the permitted 2-acre minimum. Similarly, the total floor area permitted in the residence AAA zone with a minimum lot size of 2 acres is 15%, or 13,068 square feet. The total floor area proposed here is 11,852 square feet, again, well within the 2-acre maximum. I think it's also critical for the board to consider the additional property rights that the applicant here acquired as part of the purchase of 290 Sasko Hill Road. I submitted with the application a colored map depicting the various parcels involved. The applicant here acquired, in addition to the 100% ownership of parcel B1, which contains the home, other additional property interests. Specifically, the applicant acquired a 31.25% interest in parcel 4. Parcel 4 contains 1.4 acres and abuts Mill River. They also acquired a 31.25% interest in parcel 5, which contains 1.3 acres and abuts Mill River, and a 12.5% interest in parcel 6, which contains 0.2 acres and abuts Mill River as well. These parcels are subject to covenants and restrictions recorded on the Fairfield land records, which prohibit the construction of any structures on these parcels. The intent of the various owners of the parcels, which are the 3 properties fronting on Sasko Hill Road, as well as the Lot B2, also fronting on Sasko Hill Road. The purpose is to preserve the meadow character of those parcels in perpetuity, thus ensuring an open space directly adjacent to Mill River. If you do a numerical analysis of what my client owns, the total ownership interest on a square footage basis is over 2.6 acres, and the proposed coverage and floor area here clearly are compliant with the zoning regulations. This is an unusual set of circumstances. I submit it falls directly within the purview of the Zoning Board of Appeals, where the board is empowered to provide elasticity to the zoning regulations under appropriate circumstances. Where there is, as here, a legally pre-existing non-conforming lot with an ownership interest in almost 3 acres of property directly adjacent to the applicant's property, which provides a view shed not only for the homes in question, but for those utilizing Mill River, I think it's fully appropriate for the board to grant the variances here. I should note that the orientation of the proposed improvements to the property are primarily to the rear, which takes advantage of the clear line of sight to Mill River, and as such minimizes the impact on the streetscape by virtue of the proposed improvements. Lastly, I would emphasize that the proposed increases in coverage and floor area ratio are less than 1%. Specifically, each are 0.7%, which is relatively de minimis in nature. I should also note that a portion of the proposed increase in coverage is not building construction, but rather relates to proposed landscape improvements. My clients have obtained signatures on a petition from the neighbors on either side of their property. Those neighbors have indicated they have no objection to this application. The proposed renovations to the home have been carefully designed by PH Architects. I think the renovations will only update and enhance this impressive home. Home was constructed in 1924. Renovations are certainly not unexpected. For the reasons I've outlined, I'd request this application be approved. Peter Paulus is on this call. Mr. Shabazi may well be on this call. They and I would be happy to answer any questions the board may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Fitzpatrick. Thank you, Mr. Pullen. Does the board have any questions for either? All right, hearing no questions. Oh, I'm sorry, Katie. Go ahead.
Just quickly, just want to confirm. Basically, you are asking for a variance on coverage of 0.7% and a variance on FAR of 0.7%.
That's correct.
Great, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? All right. Is there anyone that wishes to speak in favor or against this particular application, which is 290 Sasko Hill Road? Not hearing anything. The hearing now is closed on 290 Sasko Hill Road. Thank you, Attorney Fitzpatrick. Thank you, Mr. Pullen. I appreciate Poulos, I'm sorry. And we'll be taking this up at the end of our hearing.
Thank you very much.
Our next item is number 8, 284 Berkeley Road, map 42, parcel 150, petition of Sabia Fairfield Housing for a variance of zoning regulations, section 5.2.4 to reduce the rear setback from 18 feet deck, currently 6.8 feet, proposing 13.5 feet, and section 5.2.5 to increase the lot coverage and total floor area from 30% and 50%, currently 27.3% and 42.3%, proposing 44.4% and 62.2%, and section 5.1.1 to increase the number of dwelling units from 2, currently 3, proposing 3, permission to remove a single and 2-family dwelling and construct a 3-family dwelling with porches and decks, premises B zone. And looks like Ms. Lebo and Savia will be presenting this.
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Keith Sabia, and my sister Charlene Lebo. We're the children of our father, Leonard Sabia, who has been a lifelong resident of Fairfield and has resided at this property, actually at 294 Berkeley Road since 1955. The houses that are currently on the property were originally built by our great-grandfather over 100 years ago. He was originally a house builder, house wrecker, building wrecking company, contractor, and the materials used in these houses all came from used materials of buildings that he knocked down. Over the years, there were a lot of renovations that were made, and our parents purchased the property with the intent of using the revenue from the rentals as a way of paying for their retirement. However, our mother got sick, and this is all on the application, and was ill for about 10 years before she passed away, but left my father with a whole bunch of medical bills. So he spent most of his retirement paying off bills, getting the mortgage paid off, and paying taxes over the years. He's also a World War II veteran. By the time he got to this state in his life, he was in his 80s, and the Lord blessed him with longevity, but he didn't knock my father a lot of energy in his 80s, and to that, with a really challenging renovation, he's not been able to keep up on the property, and we've gotten down to a point now where he doesn't have any income coming in from the rentals, and he's finally kind of getting into letting us help him to rejuvenate the property. When you look at the property, you'll quickly see that it's I'm going to just go back over the plot plan. The houses are right on top of the property lines. Mostly, they're non-conforming. So instead of rebuilding what's there, the reason why we're here today is we want to modernize the property, get the buildings or the structures off of the property line, be able to have clear grounds all the way around, and keep the conformity of the 3 addresses that are still there. This will also help with getting parking off of Berkeley Road. I don't know if anybody's ever been on the road, but it's an old road. Those houses were built over 100 years ago. The road was constructed over 100 years ago, and anything that you can do to get the parking off the street would be really helpful. Our effort would be to take down the houses, rebuild a new structure, get those structures away from the property line, and stay within the setbacks that is the current code. The one house just to the west, I think both of those houses are about 20 feet apart from one another, which is not really a good thing. So what we want to do is we want to modernize. There's several of these properties, Berkeley Road, Marlboro Terrace, Old Stratfield Road, have been coming down. Most of them are 100 years old, and just, pretty worn out, weren't built to the latest standards. And what we want to do is we want to complement what's already being built in that neighborhood right now, and or that's currently being built in and around that neighborhood. And open to any questions that you guys may have.
Mr. Chairman, if I may add, I'm Charlene Lebo. That's my dad's property, my brother Keith. And I want to thank you, Mr. Chairman, and the board members for hearing us out. Last month, the Fairfield Police Commission amended the emergency snow removal ordinance, and so that on the even side of the street, you cannot park if there's emergency snowfall. If you ever go down Berkeley Road, there's some houses that don't have driveways, and the ones that do have driveways are very narrow and small. The road is really compacted by cars. By us doing this, we figure we could take maybe 6 cars off the road to help the neighborhood. And once again, it is a very old neighborhood. We're looking to really modernize it and improve the neighborhood. So we're wondering if you have any questions at this time.
Ms. Lebo, thank you, Mr. Sabia. Does the board have any questions? And Mr. Sabia, could you take that down viewing so I can see if they have questions? Okay, go ahead, Jane.
Hi. I understand your family situation is not great, but you know, in order to apply for a variance, you have to demonstrate hardship that's tied to the property. And I'm hoping you can just briefly explain what that hardship is.
Just in context of what my father collects Social Security and what the taxes are on that property, doesn't leave him much to pay his bills. Is that something that you were talking about?
No, I'm saying that the definition of hardship that we have to consider can't be based on your family situation or monetary needs or any of that. It has to be tied specifically to the unique characteristics of the land, of the property. Can you?
Maybe I can address that by moving the property back and enhancing the the neighborhood. I think that would help, and plus taking the vehicles off the road. Like I said, that if you go down there 5, 6 o'clock at night, there's vehicles on both sides of the road, and makes it very difficult, and also makes it difficult for emergency vehicles going through. Does that help?
That sort of helps. So let me ask you a more specific question. You're asking to put 3 dwellings in a zone that's only zoned for 1 and 2, correct?
We're currently looking to replace the 3 units that are there.
Right. But the zone only permits 1 and 2, so you're asking for a variance for a 3rd unit on the property.
Yeah, and I kind of misunderstood the question earlier, Jan. I think the hardship here is if we were to remodel and rebuild what's like for like in its place right now, it would be a very difficult remodel because of the type of construction that those buildings were built with back 100 years ago.
Okay.
And it would be hard for us to be able to do that.
Okay, and then I just have one other
in today's dollars
observation or question. These are 3-bedroom units that you're showing, and I'm looking at the floor plan. Is there a window in the middle bedroom on each of these floors?
Yes, there would be. Code would require it. It didn't make it onto this set of drawings because they redrew the roof. And I apologize, but there has to be per code because you need to have you need to have egress out of those bedroom windows.
Yeah. So you're saying that the roof won't have the configuration that you're showing in the drawings? It's going to be different?
No. Yeah, I apologize. Let me just pull it up.
Yeah.
I'm on a cloud right now, and so it's just taking a little time for me to open up that one page. No, the roof will stay the way that it is. On the side elevations, there'll be windows in those in the rest in both the first and second floors. There'll be windows there. They just didn't get drawn in, and I do apologize for that.
I'm confused because you have interior bedrooms that don't have any exterior walls. So where's the window though?
Oh, you're talking about the middle unit?
Yeah. It's not really a zoning issue. It's just the architect and me asking questions.
Yeah. It would be that middle bedrooms, yes. So, yeah, no, we don't have windows in that middle bedroom.
Right, so my question is, what if you straighten out the floor plan, is that gonna affect the roof or the configuration or the volume of the buildings that you're showing here?
No, because what we can do is we could just flip flop the stairwells.
On the two outside ones?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay, thank you.
yep. Thank you.
Other questions? Okay, no other questions. Is there anyone that wishes, did you have a question, Katie?
Hi, I was just question, just to clarify. We're talking about combining 3 lots here?
No,
No.
no.
We're ta-
It's yeah, there's one lot, and on that one lot currently there's a family house and a single family house.
Okay.
And both of them, what we want to do is we want to take them down and we want to build one single structure with 3 units in it.
Right. I understand that, but so 284, 292, and 294 are not all separate lots, they're just separate addresses.
Did I answer your question?
No, I understand that portion of it, but when I'm looking at your application, 284, 292, and 294, those
Yes.
are not separate lots, those are just 3 separate dwellings on the same property?
One house.
Yeah,
is-
so the
Go ahead, Keith. Mhm.
go ahead, Char. Go ahead, Char.
One house is a two-family house, and it's 292 and 294. And about 20 feet to the back is a ranch house, and that's at 284. They're all in the same lot.
This mailing address changes, Katie.
Right, okay. Thank you for clarifying.
Any other questions? Okay. Now I'm going to ask if there's anyone that wishes to speak in favor or in opposition to this application. Just for the record, I need to note that we do have, and the board did receive, opposition from Vicky Stavros Karavidas, and she's at 233, 235 Berkeley Road, opposing this. And Ms. Lebo and Mrs. Sabia, I'd want you to comment on that, but let's first see if there's anyone else that wants to speak to this now. Is there anyone that wishes to speak in favor or against this application? Yes, you need to unmute yourself. And are you in favor or against, Paula?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes. Are you in favor or against?
I am opposed to three family units,
Okay,
and
wait,
I
hold
do.
it.
Yes.
I need to see if there's anyone else. Is there anyone else in favor or against? Please let me know. All right, so we have the email from Vicky Stavros Karavidas and Paula
Urcioli, but I do have a question that I'm not quite sure I understand, and hopefully it can be clarified. Honestly, I think an improvement to our neighborhood would certainly be 2 3-family dwelling units. We live here on Berkeley Road at 238. Our street, in the evening, most people do have driveways and certainly is not overcrowded. And I did have a question that the home that I see at 292 is a single family. Can you correct me if I'm wrong?
That's my understanding. There's a 2-family and a single family ranch.
Right.
290.
292. So I guess
292. Yeah, 292 and 294 in one building or
Right.
one house.
292 is a separate dwelling. Is 284 the single family next to it?
Paula, 284 is the ranch in the back. The house in the front is a two-family. It's 292 and 294.
Okay, that was my question. So 284 is the ranch.
Yes.
Okay. My concern is more overcrowding with 3 triple dwelling units. That's my concern. And it would, to me, I just can't, it would just look so overcrowded. Now, down this end of the street, we have single family, we have duplex. There really are no 3-family houses on this street. So I'm just a little concerned about the amount of 3-family units, 3-family units.
Carrie, did she confirm that Cameron's game is 9 o'clock on?
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Scully. Is there anyone else?
Middle school.
Excuse me, are you hearing me?
I heard you.
All right, thank you.
Or anyone else who would speak in favor or against?
I'm against 3-family, yes.
We know. Anyone else? Okay, Mr. Sabia or Ms. Lebo, you can address Mr. Scioli's comments as well as Stavros Karavides, similar comments.
I'd like to address Karavides' comment. She's down at 233 and 235 Berkeley Road. I think she's a little confused. I know she lives half a year in Florida. I think she's talking about her neighbor next door. We don't have a fence, and she actually rents 2 of the houses there with tenants, and the gentleman next door put up a fence between her houses and 243. My dad's lived there since 1955. He's not new in the neighborhood, and he doesn't even park on the street. So I don't know where all this is coming from. The only thing in respect to her is she probably heard about it. She doesn't live there only a half a year, and maybe she's thinking it's her neighbor next door, because she's actually across the street and down the street. She's not right next door to us. But I just want to clear that up, and I'm certainly I know she's talking about 243.
Thank you, Ms. Lebo. Any comments relating to Ms. Urcioli's?
Yeah, I do. So I do. So I don't know if you heard our first part of explaining why we were doing this. We have 2 options in front of us. We could rebuild what's in place right now, and it provide us with 3 units in place. All of them are recognized addresses that have been there since probably the 1920s. But because of the challenge that we have, they're really old, and they were built out of older materials, and they're sitting right on top of the property line. And what we want to do is we want to bring in more of a modern look and appeal. I mean, we can shrink them down a little bit if we needed to. We can go to a lower ceiling and not recognize the top floor. But we're also thinking of the neighborhood needing that type of, that type of square footage to, possibly raise a young family or things like that. We could do either way. We just thought modernizing it, getting the new structures away from the property line and give it a nice clean look like what you see at Berkeley Road in Lenox, not Lenox, but Alton Street. That house is kind of the design that we're trying to go after, and try to complement the neighborhood that already has a lot of houses changing. I grew up on Berkeley Road. I lived there my whole childhood.
Am I able to?
And if anything,
it's not a back and forth, Ms. Arciello. It's not a back and forth.
Okay, understood.
All right. All right. Thank you, Mr. Sabia. Just to make sure, is there anyone else in favor or opposition to this? Okay, the hearing on 284 Berkeley Road is now closed. We'll be taking this up at the end of our public hearing.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Ms. Yellow, for your comments as well. All right, number 9, 1-59 Post Road has been withdrawn. Number 10, 3280 and 3300 Post Road has been continued. Number 11, 599 Kings Highway West has been continued. We're on to number 12, 5401 Park Avenue /220 Jefferson Street, map 13/14, parcel 3/1, petition of Sacred Heart University, Inc. and the Bridgeport Roman Catholic Diocese Corporation for variance of zoning regulations, section 5.2.2, to increase the height for an accessory structure from 40 feet, proposing 70 feet, permission to install 4 field lights, premises R3 zone. Attorney Fitzpatrick, I believe this is yours.
It is, Mr. Chairman. Again, I apologize for the lack of the video. After all, I put on a tie. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, for the record, my name is Bill Fitzpatrick. I'm an attorney in Fairfield with the law of Mill Fitzpatrick, Frame, Bologna, with offices at 1735 Post Road. I'm here this afternoon representing Sacred Heart University and the Bridgeport Roman Catholic Diocesan Corporation, which together own the property which is the subject of this application. Specifically, Sacred Heart is the owner of a 2-acre parcel known as 5401 Park Avenue, which is north of the existing Sacred Heart School of Business. The diocese is the owner of a 20.5-acre parcel of property, which contains Notre Dame High School and is known as 220 Jefferson Street. That property has a leg of the property, if you will, which proceeds to the east and abuts Park Avenue. Both these parcels are located in the R3 zone. The R3 zone permits both universities and high schools as permitted uses via special exception approval. I appeared before this board in November of 2016 relative to the creation of a combined Sacred Heart Notre Dame High School parcel and the construction of a combined university/high school multi-use field. The specific application before the board at that time was a variance to reduce the street line setback from 40 feet to 14.9 feet, in order to permit the installation of field lights and poles with lighting in conjunction with the proposed multi-purpose field. That application was granted by the board. The field is in place, as well as the netting and the bases for the field lights. The application before the board today relates to the installation of appropriate field lighting. The use of the field, particularly during the winter months, will require provision for appropriate field lighting. As you will hear from Michael Mahoney, an expert in this field with Musco Lighting, the appropriate lighting in this case is 70 feet, which permits the downward orientation of the light fixtures while still maintaining the appropriate light required on the field of play. In addition, the downward light orientation significantly limits any off-field light spread while permitting the safe utilization of the field. At this point, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to introduce Mr. Michael Mahoney from the firm Musco Lighting. Michael.
Good afternoon, and for the record, Mike Mahoney, representing and employed by Musco Lighting. I'd like to share my screen at this time. Do you see that?
Not yet.
Okay, good. So what we have here is a multi-purpose turf field, which is already in place. And what we're proposing is a 4-pole system. You can see denoted here S1 through S4. Each of those are at 70 feet. The S1 and S2 poles up here are contain 10 individual luminaires. The S3 and S4 poles contain 11 luminaires. There's various wattages to those fixtures in order to mitigate the off-site impact. We blend different wattages of fixture. We never want to overlight a facility or underlight it. We need to light to a recognized safe standard. And in this case, the NCAA actually has printed lighting guidelines, which suggest strongly that for this level of play, the student athletes should have an average of 50-foot candles across the playing surface. And you can see in this illumination summary here to the top right corner, we're averaging 51.5 foot candles. So we've got 96 individual points spread out every 30 feet. We average those points together and we get the average of 51.5 foot candles. So the appropriate amount of light, safe amount of light for play. These would be LED fixtures, and I'll get into how the technology has changed in just a bit, but just want to make it clear from the onset, sports lighting is not immune to advancements in technology, and actually just within the city of Fairfield, there's quite really a timeline of Musco product, and this would be the first LED installation. This depiction here, we have isolated readings 150 feet from the edge of the field, and you can see the maximum amount of light just 150 feet from the edge of the field is 0.25 foot candles. So very, very minimal amount of light. The average, if you take, in this case, there's 72 individual points we've measured across, around this entire circumference. The average across that is 0.02 of 1 foot candle. So that's less than what you would experience with a full moon. What we also have done is isolate the property line down here, and you can see at some points right behind S4 we're down to about 1/4 of a foot candle, and the average of these readings here along the property line is just about 1.6 foot candles. Also important to keep in mind that we are not accounting for any blockage from trees. We're just simply assuming that our lights are out there in a desert somewhere, and there's no impact from the environment to block any light. I'm going to go back real quick. So with a 4-pole system, the luminaires from each of the 4 poles is responsible for lighting 1 quadrant of the field. And these poles are approximately 150 feet from the furthest point where they need to aim. So what we do is we get that dimension, so that 150 feet, that's really a fixed dimension. We need to get light to the center of the field. Now, we also know that we want the fixtures to be aimed down at least a 25-degree aiming angle. So if we apply a cotangent of 2.145 to that 150 feet, we get a pole height of 70 feet. So I always just like to run through the math just because it's not an arbitrary number, whether it's 40 feet or 70 feet. The geometry supports our approach. Quite often we're asked, why can't we use shorter poles? And this slide, I think, does a great job of depicting why, in fact, that's not advantageous. So again, with 4 poles, each one's responsible for 1 quadrant. We need to get that aiming, that light fixture, the brightest part of the beam coming out of this fixture needs to be aimed 150 feet. If we do that from 40 feet, so much of the light that's in the top half of that light beam is exposed to the neighboring properties that, first of all, we're losing a lot of light, so it's far less efficient. It's also detrimental to players, much more glare, spectators, neighbors, etc. Now, if we take that, again, that same pole location, we raise the mounting height up to 70 feet. Again, that brightest part of the beam is aimed to the same spot, but we're mitigating the amount of light that's escaping the top part of the beam, and we're cutting that off just on the outside edge of the field. So that's the most efficient way to keep light on the field. We're reducing glare, so improving playability, again, safety on the field for players, spectators, etc. This slide takes us through the kind of the evolution of light control. Musco, we've been doing this for about 45 years now, and like I mentioned, there's several of our installations throughout Fairfield. I believe there's maybe some softball and tennis with our old sports cluster fixtures. What this timeline represents, these poles are all the same height. They're all producing the same amount of light on the field. But what we've done for the last 45 years is focus on mitigating the environmental impact of our lighting and doing our best to control light. So most recently, I think it's Fairfield University, and actually on campus at Sacred Heart also has this 2005 generation of our light control. We thought we were making a big leap from our 89 technology, but you can see what we did probably 5 or 6 years ago when we went to LED. We've now eliminated the view of the light source. So really dramatic. And I always kind of like to take it to examples that you may have experienced yourselves. For instance, if you have a relatively new car and you're pulling up to your house, your garage, you notice that nice clean line of cutoff that today's headlights achieve. We're doing the same thing with sports lighting. LED provides us that type of beam control. We create beams specific to each project and can really paint the light on the field. And we like to say nowadays we sell darkness just as much as we sell the light. This I felt was a pretty fair representation of what we're proposing. Just because you've got a university setting in the background. This is probably taken from a road, which probably isn't far away from what maybe Park Road is. So you can see, you can stare right at the lights fixtures themselves and not experience any glare. You can see here again, the light is really painted on the field. You look specifically at the north and south, or east and west, I guess I don't know the orientation, but the two ends of the field, it really sharply cuts off the light. And with that, I'll send it back to Bill. If there are any questions, please let me know.
Thank you, Michael. Mr. Chairman, for the record, the legal test for the granting of a variance is set forth in the Adolphson case, 207 Connecticut 703, which states regarding hardship under General Statutes Section 8-6, parents 3 and parents, a local zoning board may grant a variance where two basic conditions are met. 1, the variance is shown not to affect substantially the comprehensive zoning plan, and 2, adherence to the strict letter of the zoning regulations is shown to cause unusual hardship unnecessary to the carrying out of the general purpose of the zoning plan, end quote. First part of the test, a substantial effect on the zoning plan is satisfied here with the proposed use. Field lighting for a multi-purpose athletic field is a permitted use in the R3 zone as part of a university or high school use. Second part of the test, adherence to the strict letter of the zoning regulations is shown to cause unusual hardship unnecessary to the carrying out of the purpose of the zoning plan is satisfied here, I would submit, by one primary factor. As you've heard from Mr. Mahoney, the installation of 70-foot field lights permits the safe utilization of the field, as well as avoiding off-site spread from the lighting itself. As such, the proposed 70-foot lighting satisfies the purpose and intent of the zoning regulations, which is to avoid off-site impacts in general. This field will be used as a soccer field by both Sacred Heart and Notre Dame High School. It will be used for field hockey by the university. It will be used for women's softball by Notre Dame High School, and also for women's rugby by Sacred Heart. Utilizing the appropriate lighting in accordance with NCAA lighting guidelines ensures the safe amount of light for student athletes. And as you've heard from Mr. Mahoney, the proposal here is the minimum safe light for the proposed uses. I would note, by way of example, and not by legal precedent, that the Zoning Board of Appeals has recognized the need for higher height lighting for athletic fields in several instances around town. Specifically, the ZBA in 2008 approved the utilization of 4 75-foot light poles for the lighting of the university football field. The ZBA in 1999 approved the installation of 4 75-foot highlight stanchions adjacent to the football field for the town of Fairfield at 75 Melville Ave. In addition, the ZBA in 1995 approved the variance to permit the installation of 4 light poles with a height not to exceed 70 feet for the use of a softball field at 785 Umpqua Road. My point is that the board has recognized the effectiveness and appropriateness of the increased height for light fixtures for athletic fields in several instances in the past. Given the expert testimony you've heard, the utilization of 70-foot poles in this instance achieves the purpose and intent of the regulations and permits the safe utilization of this athletic field by both Notre Dame and Sacred Heart student athletes. For the reasons I've outlined, I'd request this application be approved. Mr. Mahoney and I will be happy to answer any questions the board may have. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Attorney Fitzpatrick. Thank you, Mr. Mahoney. Board have any questions? Yes, Jane?
Hi. So the 4 poles are because the plan is to divide the field into 4 quadrants and light each quadrant with one 70-foot high fixture. Hypothetically, if the field was divided into more divisions, could you use shorter poles?
We still have the that set distance of 150 feet to get the poles, safely away from the edge of the field. I think we've probably got 20 feet or so buffer there. And then there's that still the distance from the pole setback to the center of the field. We're still stuck with that 150 feet.
So you couldn't do it with more poles that aren't as tall, even with the new LED technology. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, we can do it. There would be no benefit. You'd still have to get that 25-degree aiming, minimum 25-degree aiming angle. We're still 150 feet to the center of the field. So to reach that 25 degrees, we need 70 feet. So if we put up more poles, we'd still need 70 feet. There'd be fewer fixtures on each pole, but they'd still be the same height.
Okay, and then my second question is, I'm still unclear what the hardship is. I mean, I know, sports and all that, but what's the hardship that's tied to this particular property that requires poles that are more than twice or almost twice as high as what's permitted?
I'd submit that the hardship is the failure of the regulations to recognize the fact that the purpose and intent of this regulation is better served by the utilization of 70-foot poles, which permits safe light and avoid the spillage of light, which is precisely what the regulation is designed to avoid. It permits the fixture to be aimed in a downward fashion, as you've heard from Mr. Mahoney, and does the job. And I think an indication of the fact that we've had several approvals in town is that the board has consistently recognized that that is a valid legal hardship for this kind of proposal.
Okay. All right, thank you.
I would just add one quick thing. The International Dark Sky Association has community-friendly lighting guidelines. And in order to meet those guidelines, you would need the aiming angles that the 70-foot pole presents or provides. And with 40-foot poles or shorter, you definitely would not meet anywhere near those guidelines.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the board? All right. Is there anyone that wishes to comment on this application, either in favor or against? Please let me know now. All right, hearing no comments. We're going to close the hearing on 5401 Park Avenue, 220 Jefferson Street. Thank you, Attorney Fitzpatrick. Thank you, Mr. Mahoney.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our next item, and final item, is number 13, 258 Oldfield Road, map 182, parcel 262. Petition of Scott Wright for variance of zoning regulations, section 5.2.4, to reduce the street line setback on a corner lot from 20 feet, currently 20.2 feet, proposing 17.7 feet. Permission to build a new FEMA compliant single family dwelling premises be zoned. Attorney Gelderman, you're presenting this?
I am. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate it. The board may recall we were in front of you a month ago with a proposal that also requested a variance for both FAR and coverage. And we had a discussion about possibly lowering or changing the roof line and making some adjustments to try to make that more conforming. Well, we've actually, I think, done one better. We've eliminated the need for a coverage variance and for an FAR variance. We've redesigned the house. It's smaller. Isn't exactly what I think my client Scott Wright wanted, but it conforms to the regulations, and so we do not require FAR or coverage variances at this point in time. We have a very slight sliver of the building within the setback, but under the Hescock line of cases, we're actually reducing the nonconformity. The house along Catherine Street had been about 5 feet away from the street, and now it's going to be 19.1 feet away for a distance of about 5 feet. It's a pie-shaped sliver that is about 10 inches within the setback. At its widest point, goes down to 0, about 5 feet to the east. But as I mentioned, it's a significant reduction in the existing nonconformity by about 14 feet. So that is the only variance that we're seeking at this point in time, is very slight encroachment into the setback. The reason, once we redesigned the house, to be the size that it is, we looked at possibilities of changing the sort of the direction of the corners, but in any way that we move the house, it would encroach a little bit into the setback. This is the least encroachment into the setback, and it's along the street where there was previously an encroachment, a non-conforming encroachment into the setback. As the board knows, reducing non-conformities is an independent basis for the granting of a variance, even in the absence of a hardship. And that is exactly what we have done here, made the house conforming in all respects except for that small sliver within the setback. So that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Attorney Gelderman. Does the board have any questions for Attorney Gelderman? All right, hearing no questions, is there anyone that wishes to speak as to this application, 258 Oldfield Road, either in favor or against? Hearing none, we're going to close the hearing on 258 Oldfield Road. Thank you very much, Attorney Gelderman, and thank you to your client for reworking some numbers there.
You're welcome, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Does the board need a break, or can we go into our voting? If we need a break, not a problem. 5-minute break. We'll
Yeah, please.
reconvene in 5 minutes. It's 5:10, 5:15.
Thank you.
All
I'll keep
right,
us
I'm
moving.
reopening Zoning Board of Appeals, Town of Fairfield, our working session, September 2, 2021. We just concluded the public hearing for today. Several items for us to entertain. Just so the board knows, the order that I see on my screen is what I'm going to use for voting, and that is Brian, Jane, Katie, Terry, then myself as chairman. So we'll start continued docket number 12, 645 Fairfield Beach Road. That has been continued to October. First item for business was number 9, 740 11 o'clock road, petition of the Cadence. Attorney Russo presented this. Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Thank you, Brian. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Katie. All right, discussion. This is, and we heard in opposition, just for the record, Ms. Karen, Andrea Karen at 801 11 o'clock road as well.
I didn't ask this question of him because it's really just my observation. I don't think a variance is needed. I think all the property that's over by the pond, that's kind of just a misdirection, because the building that they're proposing, you can pull it closer to the street so you can gain your 50% or your 50 feet rear setback, and you can push it north to gain the 30-foot setback. So you wouldn't need those. And all you have to do is turn your pool 90 degrees.
There's a setback.
You don't need any variances,
That's
right? Am I wrong?
I think you need a variance to the pool.
Why? You can turn the pool, I mean, you can redesign it. It's, again, this is just lines on paper. There's nothing, there's no building there yet. And I'm confident this can be reworked by just pulling and pushing and turning things 90 degrees to make it work. Yes, it would end up closer to the house, but you know, I don't see there's a hardship. They can get their garage and cabana and pool and keep it conforming to the regulations.
Well, they can't move towards the pond
No,
in the same configuration.
correct. But if they turn the whole pool 90 degrees,
I mean, I thought it was a reasonable area moving it back because the neighbors don't like to see in these properties. But
it's so far from the street anyway that you're pulling the whole thing. I mean, it's an attractive building. It's only going to be 20 feet closer to the street. It will be farther from the neighbors to the south and the neighbors behind them.
this type of a lot does constitute a hardship. You only use half of its acreage.
Right, but the variance that they're seeking is for setbacks, not, area.
Well, if you have more area, it's much easier to move stuff.
Like I said, I think it's misdirection for us to be talking about the pond when in the corner that they want to put this building, they can achieve exactly that and have it conform.
If they didn't have a pond, they could put the garage over there and a pool where the pond is, the same size as the pond.
Right, but anyway, I think it's solvable without a variance.
Okay, did you have something?
I was going to confirm that, the neighbor that objected, well, I can respect that objection, obviously. I think her only objection was that it's for a variance, not anything, it was nothing, it was too
Yeah,
big.
she didn't,
right?
She didn't display any negative sentiment towards the building, only
No.
that it might open the door for other people to ask for variances.
Right.
I think that foundation is. I think I can forgive I think I would grant the variance for a sound and attractive structure and the pool as it was requested.
Right. Well,
given that the only objection was maybe somebody else is going to want to do work in the future.
and if the pond and the lot, if the lot and the pond constitute a hardship, then they have a hardship.
Yeah.
But they don't have to build the building they're proposing in a location that requires a variance. They can build the exact same building.
But they have requested it, and it's not an insane request. They're not asking for, things that we've rejected in the past. They're just asking to build it the way they want it, and the way they want it does require a variance, and
Okay,
they
well,
have very
that's-
little objection.
All right. I'll bring to a vote. Brian,
Yes.
Jane,
No.
Katie,
Yes. Oh,
Terry,
Yes.
I see yes. The motion passes. Number 1 on the general docket, 203 South Benson Road, petition of the Galliuses for a variance to demolish attached garage attached to dwelling and add a second floor. Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Thank you, Brian. Second.
Second.
Thank you, Terry. All right, discussion.
looks like, I mean, they're decreasing their coverage slightly, which is appealing.
Yes, but they're asking for an FAR that's 25% bigger than what is permitted.
Right, but so basically it's 6% more than they already have, correct?
No,
No?
not the FAR.
It's 9% more than they have now, right?
They're currently 45.
Right, okay, but
and
what's
it's going to
They want-
51.
right,
That's
but
six.
what's okay,
Six.
but fine,
Yeah,
but what
six.
the zone permits is 40, so they want to go 51, so that's like 25% more than what's permitted.
Right, but they're not making a huge impact, and what they're doing is also going to improve enough other conditions. I think that's the question. Does their plan improve enough conditions to warrant the 6% increase from an existing condition? I'd say yes.
Well,
That's me.
it's because they want that second floor on top.
Right.
Yeah. So they're pushing the envelope even more.
Mhm.
All right.
Especially
Anything-
because that property is so close to the lot line. Anyway,
All right, bring it to a vote. Brian,
Yep.
Jane,
no,
Katie,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
I say yes. That motion carries. Number 2, 193 South Benson Road, petition of the Wests for removing existing structure, rebuilding on existing foundation relative to that garage. Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Thank you, Brian. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Terry. All right, discussion.
I have to take them at their word that they're renovating, even though the application is to remove and rebuild. Because it would be an easy matter to just pull the whole new structure forward, so you wouldn't have that so close to the rear property line. I mean, 2 feet is really close to the property line. You can't even, walk around behind it, squishing yourself. And I think it's a fire hazard.
I mean, I think they're
know
always
that-
trying to
Sorry,
renovate instead of rebuild and take down and go on the same footprint. It's a lot less expensive.
well, that's not our concern.
I know, so you want them to rip it down and move it forward?
I think they are gonna rip it down. I mean, they're asking to rip it down, even though they say they're not going to.
Well, if you're gonna rebuild on the existing foundation, you can't certainly move the foundation.
No, but you can add 4 feet to the front of it and pull the whole, build it 4 feet farther.
And then leave foundation on the backside?
Yeah, it's just foundation on the ground. It's just a slab.
And then are we asking them to come back for another variance for an increase in FAR?
No,
Because they're gonna make the house bigger? Why wouldn't they
no,
just
because it's not
go forward
FAR.
and leave it back?
It's nothing to do with FAR.
Well, what I'm saying is if we ask them to move the footprint forward, why wouldn't they build off the same rear and increase the size of the house? You want them to move the entire structure forward and leave 4 feet off the back?
It's just a slab on grade. It's like a patio.
I'm gonna go ahead and take them at their word, and also I think what they're asking for is reasonable.
All right, we'll bring it to a vote. Brian,
Yes.
Jane,
I'm gonna say no, just because I know it's gonna be brand new structure.
Katie? Terry?
Yes.
I say yes. Gary, number 3, 2072 Hillside Road. It's petition of the Shuas, and it's to Attorney Fallon presented the application for them. And it's to put a second floor. The original publication was for 2 variances. This one is only for the second floor addition, which is a sideline and street line setbacks. Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Thank you, Brian. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Terry. Discussion?
This is so minimal, let's just say yes. Like they're asking for 300 square feet within the same footprint, just building above. It's nothing.
They have less than 25% of the minimum required size of the lot. Any other discussion? All right, Brian,
Yes.
Jane,
Yes,
Katie, Terry,
Yes.
I say yes. That passes. Number 4, 133 Ridgeview Avenue. It's a petition of the Fishers. Ms. White presented this. It's to construct a 2-story addition. Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Jane seconds.
Thank you, Jane. All right, discussion.
Another reasonable request. I think the 1% isn't so bad in the coverage increase.
And they stayed under the FAR.
Yep.
With it as well.
Yep.
Which is always good.
Yes,
All
very
right.
good.
Oh, Brian,
Yes.
Jane,
Yes,
Katie,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
I say yes, that carries. Number 5, 580 Post Road, petition Pollock Circle Associates, Attorney Fallon presented it. It's for a walk-in cooler. Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Thank you, Brian. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Terry. Discussion? This is Senior
Let them make
Salsa.
the health department happy.
Yeah, I haven't heard of a potential hardship that the health department wants you to do this, and you need to do a hardship to achieve it. You need a variance to achieve it. Also, it's a 10,000 square foot lot. They need, and they only have 7,200 or
right, and it's
7,300.
we're not increasing dining area, so it's
Yeah.
not gonna affect parking, so that's fine.
Yeah, that was a good question.
Anything that gives them faster prep to get food out faster, let's go.
All right, Brian,
Yes.
Jane,
Yes,
Katie,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
I say yes. Senior Salsa will be happy. Number 6, 180 Millard Street, petition of the Mulchin. Mr. Mulchin presented this. It's to remove the roof and rebuild it with a steeper pitch. Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Thank you, Brian. Second.
Jane seconds.
Thank you, Jane. Discussion?
Let the snow fall. I think it's a reasonable request. Guy wants to keep ice damming from happening.
Yeah, you look at that and it's a very shallow roof, even on the front. But the
Yeah.
back extends further. It's near flat.
The, it doesn't change
Doesn't change anything.
setback.
Yeah,
Doesn't change
doesn't change
setback.
anything else. All right, Brian,
Yep.
Jane,
Yes.
Katie, Terry.
Yes.
I say yes, motion passes. Number 7, 290 Sasko Hill Road, petition of 290 SHR Equity Partners LLC. Attorney Fitzpatrick presented this to construct a 2-story addition and deck. Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Thank you, Brian. Just second.
Second.
Thank you, Terry. All right, discussion.
The only thing I'm confused about is they're doing a ton of work, but what they're asking for is just that one piece that's going to be effectively invisible to everybody else. That's what we're allowing, is that little addition for the
Yeah,
guys'
I mean,
office.
they're looking to go 0.7 over lot coverage, and they're doing a lot of work, but the total of all that work is only 0.7 over on both
Right.
lot coverage and FAR
Right.
Yeah, I'm good.
on a good piece, you know. And
On a
it
giant lot.
makes a good argument about it being able to utilize some of the other property owned, but you know, it's not truly connected, but it's a good argument. Bring it to a vote, Brian,
Yep.
Jane,
Yes.
Katie,
Yes.
Terry.
Yes.
I say yes, that motion passes. Number 8 is 284 Berkeley Road. It's petition of Sabia Fairfield Housing to remove the 2 structures and construct a 3-family dwelling, but one structure with porches and decks. Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Thank you, Brian. Is there a second?
Jane seconds.
Thank you, Jane. And let's have some discussion. Remember, we had the email and from Miss Karavitas, and we had Miss Orsielli also commented about this. So let's hear some discussion.
I don't see any hardship that warrants offering, 3 units when 2 are permitted. Just because there's 3 there now. And I think that the design is not really fleshed out, so that it makes me wonder how this is actually going to be final application.
I agree that this is a tough one. Supposed to have 6,000. For a 2-family, it's supposed to be bigger than 7,500. And they want a 3-family unit here. I think it's a decent idea to move to more than a single-family dwelling there. It's consistent with the neighborhood. It's consistent with, what was there. The neighbors are used to that, but putting the 3-family is just, I agree, it's too small of a lot for a
Right.
3-family.
And I understand they have a family situation, but we really, we can't really consider that.
Yeah, the only question that I would have is if we deny this, can they rebuild by right what's on the existing footprint?
Yes.
In other words, can they take those structures down and do what they want? And you're gonna end up with 3 dwellings on the same property anyway.
Can I interject, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, please.
The answer would be no.
Really?
Oh.
Okay.
Yes. They're non-conforming. And, if there were regulations under section 2 state that any non-conforming structure that is destroyed, whether by Mother Nature or on its own, would require, by more than 50%, would require a variance to rebuild. They're entitled to remodel the two structures, but they cannot tear them down on the existing footprint and rebuild them without coming back before this commission.
Is that 3-wall rule, Matt?
No, there is no such thing as a wall rule in the regulations. So anytime you remove a non-conforming structure, by more than 50% of the structure itself requires a variance to be rebuilt.
Understood.
Okay. So I have several questions and thoughts on this one. Question wise, the variance they're asking for. So when we're looking at what currently exists, is that for both homes, the 2-family and the single family? That what the current coverage in FAR is relating to? So when I look at the survey that they provided, there's no existing conditions, only proposed conditions. So I don't see any survey that says what they've got there now.
Exactly.
It's on the website, so I apologize. The correct survey is on the website, and it shows existing conditions and it shows proposed.
Okay. And then
No, it doesn't.
my other thought is,
Yeah, it does. Oh, sorry, it doesn't.
I mean, it's in the description.
Yeah,
On the agenda, but it's
the
not
wrong one. I apologize. The wrong one was uploaded.
Right.
They forwarded that to me after, because it didn't have it on there, and I could certainly read them off to you if that makes it easier.
well, I mean, as long as for me, if what you have in the summary page is
Yes, that is correct.
survey,
The
then
conditions listed there is correct.
okay.
They have the existing conditions for the proposed, existing and then what they're proposing is listed correctly.
Yeah.
So the other question I have, not question, observation is, so they've got a 2-family house and they've got a single family house. Can certainly, if they choose to, renovate both of them and still maintain 3 dwellings, right? Correct?
Yes.
As long as they go under the 50%.
Okay.
Well, as long as they don't tear them down, they can remodel the existing without tearing anything down.
Right. What's the 50%, Kevin?
That's if you tear it down and you go more than 50%, you need to come up to code.
So if they break down 50% of the house of the dwelling itself.
Yeah, they did break code. Got it. The FEMA thing. And then the other observation I have is that there's a property, 230 Oldfield Road, which was somewhat similar, where there were 7 dwellings. You know, there was three 2-families and a single family, and then it was approved for a developer to add 8 units there.
Was that affordable housing?
Nope. That's I think, Matt, you might remember, it's the Howell property.
That was the Howell property. They had 3 buildings. 4 buildings total.
In the garage.
Had 2 families and one of them had a 1-family. So they had 7 units there. They tore them down or asked for permission to tear them down and put up 8.
Which we let them do.
Units, 3 buildings that consisted of 8. I think 3 buildings it was that consisted of 8 units. That is correct.
Yeah. Then my other observation is that the objection from 233, 235 Berkeley Road, that owner who, respectfully said she just didn't think there was the capacity to have a 3-family. That house that she's referring, her house that she owns, is also a 3-family, a smaller size lot than this lot.
When was that house built?
It was built in.
You're talking about the person who spoke?
Yeah.
Hold on, I'll tell you.
Right. Like 1939.
Yeah.
If crowding is the issue, she's got a 3-family, but she doesn't want a 3-family nearby her, even though it's on a bigger lot.
I just don't think this project is completely fleshed out. The buildings don't work.
They don't work because of the variances needed, Jane?
They don't work architecturally because there's rooms that aren't legal. You have interior bedrooms. And so in order to make the changes to make them legal, it's going to affect the roof lines. And so the building as proposed, I don't see how it can be built.
Well, if they change the building as proposed, this is a question for you, Matt, I guess. If they change the building as proposed, would they have to come back to us with the new plans?
If it changes the FAR,
If the FAR were to change, that is correct. And I think yeah, I mean, I can't attest to what would be required by the building department in regard to height, but Jane is correct that all bedrooms need to have a window egress
right.
From them. You know, they may be able to redesign the footprint inside to accommodate that, but that middle unit will definitely have some redesigning required, as well as the outside units. The bedrooms have to be flopped to the outside walls.
So, I mean, we're talking about two different things, two dwellings versus three. That's one whole issue.
Yep.
But then what they're asking for as far as coverage and FAR, that's another whole issue. And you can solve one, you can change one and keep the other, or vice versa. But as a combination of what they're proposing, I don't think it works.
We're not talking about 2 dwellings versus 3. Aren't we talking about 3 dwellings versus 3?
They're
Three
permitted
versus
to have 2. They're permitted to have 2. They're asking for 3. That's a variance they're asking for.
But they have 3 and they can keep 3, I think
Yeah.
is what Katie's saying.
Yeah,
If they
have 3
keep the
dwellings.
same-
One of them is a 2-family.
Right, but if they keep the same 3 dwellings, then the coverage and FAR are compliant. So they're asking for both things.
But
Like, I don't think you can have both. You can either keep what you've got, have, renovate and have 3 dwellings and your coverage and FAR compliant, or you can tear them down and design something that is compliant for just the 2 dwellings that you're permitted, and, maybe push it a little bit on coverage and FAR. But I think this is above and beyond. And again, these are just drawings. If you can sharpen your pencil and go back and revisit the design and come back to us.
But is it design that we're concerned with, or it's not really the design, it's the ability to build a 3-family? Because you couldn't even really you can't build a brand new 2-family on that lot, correct? Because it's too small.
They're asking for a variance.
that's what they're asking the variance for.
Right, no, I
Yeah,
get it. No, I understand that, yeah. But what redesign would we want them to do in order to approve keeping the 3 dwellings?
They would have to make it compliant for coverage and for FAR. And at that point, is it worth having 3? Why not just then have 2 nicer units? I mean, you can achieve both. You can build a brand new 2-family house that you would not need a variance for at all.
Yes, you would. You need 9,000 square feet for a 2-family dwelling.
They've only got 75.
Yeah.
But okay,
That's
so
not an
we can ask for a variance for that. You're right. Which I think is a more reasonable ask.
I have a question. Can they?
Yeah.
No, I guess they couldn't. Could they keep a 1-family house and then ask for variance to build a new 2-family house? Probably not, because they'd be over there. They'd be back over their coverage and FAR.
Still be 3 units on one property.
Right. But the tricky part for me is that they have that already. But in order to keep it the way they want to, they're pretty significantly over coverage and FAR.
Yeah.
It's just too much.
Yeah.
All right, Brian?
No.
Jane?
No.
Katie?
Nope.
Terry?
No.
I say no. Number 9, 1-59 Post Road, that has been withdrawn. Number 10, 3280 and 3300 Post Road, that has been continued to October. Number 11, 599 Kings Highway West, that has been continued to October. Number 12, 5401 Park Avenue, 22 0220 Jefferson Street. Petition of Sacred Heart and Bridgeport Roman Catholic Diocese Corporation. Attorney Fitzpatrick presented this is to install field lights, 4 field lights. Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Thank you, Brian. Is there a second?
Jane seconds.
Thank you, Jane. All right, discussion.
Let there be light. I think they went more than far enough to explain the geometry required in order to keep the bleed into the neighborhood at an absolute minimum.
Yeah, I just thought it was interesting that they referred back to 3 previous rulings. But those, which were, 70 feet and 75 feet and 70 feet, but those weren't even LED technology. So it's not exactly the same thing.
Well, the technology doesn't change the geometry.
Yeah, it does. Because the path of the light is more controlled with the LED. But anyway, that's just my observation.
All right, any other discussion? Yes. I mean, my point on some of this is the regs at 40 feet never considered the design requirements to achieve the lighting on the field that's required. Those are accessory structures for lights that people use in parking lots and people, so it's not really set for athletic fields. That reg never considered athletic fields at all. And you put them at 40 feet, you get a lot of spillage out going to the sides. So you either put more lights or you spill out sideways. To the
Or you
other.
only have day games.
What's that?
Or you only have day games. Just use the daylight.
Ask Yale what that did for them.
All right. Bring to a vote, Brian?
Yes.
Jane?
Yes.
Katie?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
I say yes. Number 13, 258 Oldfield. Petition of Scott Wright. Attorney Gelvin presented this for Mr. Wright. It's to build a new FEMA compliant structure. Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Thank you, Brian. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Terry. Okay, discussion.
I was
Thank
gonna
you.
let Jane. I was gonna let Jane motion on this one.
It is possible to sharpen one's pencil and redesign something to make it closer to compliant. It's not difficult, and you can still have a beautiful structure that, provides all the amenities that you want. That doesn't have to be too big for the lot, but too bulky for the lot. So thank you very much.
I guess that's the only discussion we need, right, Jane?
Say whatever you want. I mean, I'm just delighted that somebody is actually, understands what it means that I'm talking about all the time.
I think that's the only discussion we need.
Okay, thank you.
Brian?
I'm so tempted, but yes.
Jane?
Yes.
Katie?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
I say yes. All right, that concludes September. Have a good holiday, everyone, and we will see you in October.